Hello everyone and welcome back to Star Ocean: The Second Story. I bet you forgot about this crew. All the way back at the beginning with Claude? Just because we're at the beginning, it's actually a surprise when they show up again. You only get this scene after you leave the refugee camp on the L continent. You don't get this with Renna's perspective. And this gives us a kind of an idea of where we are. We're in the Theta sector of the Milky Way galaxy, which is where a majority of the locations of Star Ocean have taken place up until this point. Earth is even in this sector. And there's his full number, just so you know. So between Malakinia all the way to Expel, well, at least the transportation happened within the same sector, because Malakinia is also in the Theta sector as well. So it's not like Claude was transported halfway across the galaxy. It's a surprisingly short distance when you think about it in terms of spanning a galaxy. But while that is going on, we get to take a look at Eluria, or at least its tower. Again, I'm really not sure about location here, because it could either be... I feel like Eluria was two spots. One was by the coast, which makes sense, and then there was like another town that was close to where the impact zone is. The main reason we're here is that even though at the crater, the Sorcery Globe isn't there. It's here. Now we have that ID card. We can get in. Inconspicuous place in terms of inserting it, but... yeah, well. Rather triumphant music that we get with Eluria Tower, as well as a bunch of chests just there for the taking. Good stuff in it too. Except you have to work for it in order to get it. The enemies here are certainly an upgrade, as you can see by Claude getting pummeled. Going in with pretty much a strike force, minus Ernest. The only reason Ernest here is in order to get him leveled up at all.
You do the rest.
Or at least try to. Can't deal with just two party members here. It's not a good thing. Again, if you have the familiar with you, it's probably a good idea.
Oh no!
Careful, Opera.
I screwed up.
There we go. Ernest is still handy. You can get rid of any mages that are going to be in our enemy pool. Otherwise, he's just trying not to get killed, because he can easily get killed with any of these enemies.
Well, that's somewhere around 80 points.
Yeah, while playing as him, he's going to be support. He's going to be throwing items anywhere he can. Ooh, we get an Xbox. Before it even came out. It's slightly better for Opera, and no, she doesn't get to throw a console around. And we get a stone check. We'll need it for this place because there is an enemy that does petrify you. Claude got very lucky not being on the ground for tractor beam.
Yes.
Just waiting for him to get a couple more levels and then he can get a really dumb ability. Yeah, a couple good things. We'll take a look at the accessory that we've also gotten on here a little bit later. But first, 3-0. Pay attention to that. It's going to be important.
This guy is tough.
Oh, please.
Now, if there's any enemy in Eluria Tower to hit, it's these jellies. Because they're the easiest to beat, and they give a lot of experience, and they can also multiply, which means that you can get more experience from them. Although they do have the ability to make that gigantic wave out of them, which can be also a bother. More giant skeletons, too. And the Trickster.
They seem tough.
Be careful.
Bit of a map change. And as you can see here, it's a map change for the worse. I'm pulling out my other party for this one because we can see the real danger of Eluria Tower, which is these, as they're called, cold lizards. They're salamanders, but blue. They do the exact same thing as the previous ones did, except these ones petrify you. On top of being just more powerful. However, because they're called cold lizards, that gives you the clue that they are weak to fire. So if you have Celine in your party, hopefully at this point she has Eruption, because she's going to be wanting to use that constantly to actually deal damage, because all the rest of them are not going to be able to. If I'm going to do that, then I just have to weave around here. This battlefield is one of the most dangerous, especially with the cold lizards around, because it's narrow. It'd be better if it was narrow the opposite way around, like on the floor below, but it doesn't work out like that. My cure stone. Where is it? All the way up here. This is the benefits of organizing your items so that they're quick and easy to get. You can always sort them by battle items, but even then it's still an annoyance in order to do that. Because there is no way of manually sorting your items. You can't like move around in order to have specific things where you want them. You can force it by having just like blank spaces in specific places, so that when you get the item that you want, it will automatically fill in that space, but that is very cumbersome.
You're all.
Die!
So yeah, this is a rough idea of what you kind of have with a fight like this. Again, you think after all this time of getting Diaz, you think he'd be a little bit more, shall we say, effective after we get him, but not going to be able to do things completely on his own. Yeah, Thunderstorm does about 25% of what Eruption can do. Kind of ridiculous of like how effective it actually can be.
Crosswind.
So 400 to 500 versus over 2,000. There you go. Do they have lots of HP? Yes.
Die!
Like, Bowman is a little bit helpful in this regard. It would be better if I was actually controlling him, because I could be spamming like poison pills constantly in at least a safe area. But the thing is, Diaz also has to be in that same area in order for that to be the most effective, so that Diaz can distract him so that Bowman can do his thing. Because, yeah, Diaz is not going to be helpful in terms of dealing damage. He's mostly there in order to fill up space. Ow. God, Bowman. The annoying thing is that it costs 30 in order to get Eruption going. Come on, Diaz. At least you're unlocking voice clips for me. Oh, come on, Bowman.
I don't want to die.
Oh, boy. And now I need to actually use... Nope. There we go. The last thing I want is Celine to die, because she is kind of my ace with this particular fight. And sometimes I would think about using like the fact that they're getting angry in order that because that temporarily upgrades their stats in order to be a little bit more effective. I just want them to live. Now, do all fights go like this? No, but can some fights go like this? Yeah, to the point where I'm really considering even interrupting enemies with a simple attack like press. Just like, you need to just like not go after certain people or get interrupted so you're not doing any attacks. At least there's only one of them.
You're wrong.
Because if there was still two and I was at this point, at this stage, it would have been really bad.
Crosswave. Crosswave.
I'm glad we're okay.
Shall we go?
It was either, there was also the
I'm getting
connection
something.
between Star Ocean and Tails, at least at its inception, which Star Ocean
This is bad.
lacks,
Here's the
unfortunately,
enemy.
which
I
is,
will
you know,
win.
co-op play. A lot of these fights would be a lot better if you were able to get in at least one other person in order to play with all of this. You can see with the two different kinds of teams I'm throwing into this,
Good night.
the sheer difference between them.
Oh my.
Going in with an attack force is definitely going to work out there. So anyway, we got the Trickster, and we also get the Christia God. Just a better shield. The Trickster, though, is, well, honestly, one of the... It is a good accessory. But it is a one-of-a-kind, much like the Mischief, which we did not get, or did not keep from the private action click. The Trickster does the same thing as the Mischief, except when you roam around, you get slightly better items. I'm still not going to use it because it completely screws up any momentum of moving around because it does stop you. But it's there if you want it, and getting a whole bunch of junk items. $5A. So we got 3O, 5A. While I'm picking up all of these items, I was always fascinated by these 4 pictures and wondered whether or not they were like made by the development team or whether or not they commissioned them from somewhere. There's just no data about that at all. As well as having a skeleton in the throne on the left there. This is kind of where Eluria Tower ends and the weirdness begins. I couldn't even call this the 3rd floor of the tower because we have gone up way further than anything that the tower could possibly be. How this was made, it's left completely ambiguous,
What?
but there's lots of giant heads around at this point. It also gives us a lot of breathing room, sort of, as Presses does. Breathing room in terms of the battlefields that we get to work with, or at least the one, because it's much more standard.
Thank you, saving me.
Sorry, Ernest, I think you were able to actually go and fight something, and then you go and get...
Fight is over.
Yeah.
We have 4C as well, so OCA for going 3, 4, and 5. Apart from the one at the base of the tower, the rest of them all have just like pairs of the same glass statues. So it doesn't really matter which direction you take. If you're wanting all the items, you have to go through all of the branching pathways.
Go.
But it's not like they go in completely huge ways. The Eluria Tower is not as long as it feels like it should be.
Is that it?
Again, showing the huge difference between the attack teams. You can be well-rounded. You can have a healer, you can have a spellcaster, or you can just have pure physical fighters going crazy. There's these two here. You got this one who is guarding nothing, so you feel like you don't have to go that way. Versus, hey, I have 2 chests. Come over and see what I have. Hey, don't take it. But we do get an Ultra Punch. So Leon's wonderful Thunder Punch is immediately tossed aside. We get 1A. So we have A, blank,
Wow.
OCA. Pretty good pause for the upgrade of Home Splitter. Whoop. Again, with Ernest, the thing I like to do with Ernest, as he gets a couple levels so that he's a little bit more viable, is when everybody is attacking the things that are closest to them, you have that one mage who's in the back who can be potentially dangerous with what they're able to cast, whether it be Tractor Beam, but sometimes they're able to cast Thunderstorm as well.
Oh my! Okay.
So putting myself into a more support role, a lot better. And then we get Ernest's next ability, which is called Arc Attack. Arc Attack. I love it, but it's dumb. We'll see a little bit later. I don't need to talk to the priest yet. Eventually, we will. But there's one more thing to get before we truly talk to him. As you can see, well, we can't go any higher here. But if we go down, oh, there's a king. There's the facsimile of a king. And this contains the second letter. So APOCA. And just to show, well, we've done pretty much a complete round of what we have here. So let's go back up and see that priest. There is the teleporter on the left, which goes to a new place, but we won't get much farther without dealing with these 5 letters that we have seen. I hope you love that sound effect. So, now we get to say the secret word. Just have to put them in order. A, P, O, C, and A. Apaka. Short for apocalypse. This is absolute, unvarying fate. To be honest, I like this version of the so-called puzzle that they really give. It doesn't change per playthrough, so you can just go straight up to this guy in order to get the card key in order to keep moving. But Apaka, like, it's a little bit more cryptic because it's not even a complete word. But if you ever play the remake of this game, they changed it to just simply being death instead of apocalypse. Which I'm like, it doesn't hit as well as Apocalypse does. I get what they were trying to do with that. So the card key is used for these things, which just poof away. And we could go up, but we're not going to do that yet. We're going to go across and into this area over here, inconspicuously out of the way, just for the sake of curiosity. As we see 2 more of those heads just halfway through the floor. The problem with going up a tower is that your reception gets a little bit better. So people are hearing sounds come from Claude's pocket. I like having Opera in the party because, yeah, she knows what's happening. The other thing I like about this effect is that it's very simple. It's vector graphics, if I'm not mistaken. But it's an effect that has roughly the same style throughout a few more of the Star Ocean games. They kind of kept the same aesthetic. No, there is. The bureaucracy is going to get in the way of it. Well, I've been punched by demons. Nah, I'm fine. It's an icky planet. So we're going to sweep this under the rug, pretend we never heard this. Especially from the character who has done the exact same thing, you know. that pretty much just said that, hey, there's this thing that keeps coming into this system every 7,000 years. Which, the only connection we have is that it could be the sorcery globe, but I don't know. Because here we just immediately get the information of, oh, the body was not the sorcery globe. There's something else. If you're pickpocketing, this is the time in order to pickpocket everybody here for some good items. For instance, I think one of these people has one of the best pieces of armor in the game. If you're able to get it, it does require either level 9 or level 10 pickpocketing, so you really have to invest in it. But it's not like you're missing out on much. Huh. Well, everything just got elevated super, super fast, didn't it? Something else we were not privy to at any point is about to destroy the entire planet of Expel. Something that has the energy of a star exploding. Like, I don't know if that even had, like, if it was uncontrolled, it wouldn't just destroy a planet. It would destroy a lot of things in its path, I would assume. And it's going to do that in a little over an hour. Honestly, the last card he could have played is, hey, I'm doing the same thing you did in your own game, Dad. And that short period of time is nebulous at best, but we can assume that, I don't know, a little over a week has passed? So now I need to address a discrepancy. Celine here saying that it's been 2 hours since Claude was beamed up. When you're playing in Rena's perspective, the scene that I showed earlier, it said that 1 hour has passed. Now I cut it because in that same scene, Claude gets beamed down. So in Rena's perspective, only an hour has gone by, but in Claude's perspective, it's 2 hours that have gone by. And the thing is, now they've put a timeline that is actually really, really important here because the waiting around, something's off about it. Regardless, though, the planet is about to be destroyed in roughly an hour. So I guess it really doesn't matter. Yeah, there's nothing else to see here anyway. And both of these scenes are honestly really good. Claude finally moving on his light amount of character of deciding who he is as an individual. Versus Ronix as a father who would do anything in order to get his son back. Despite everything. Because yeah, an hour the planet is going to be destroyed, but most likely everything is going to be destroyed in maybe half that time. So cut that down to about 30 minutes. And in that 30 minutes, we're going to deal with a long-time foe? Anyway, rule of threes. First time is a time limit. Second time is a guaranteed loss. Now it's time for the actual fight, which can go one of two ways, depending on how you kit out your team. We do come with the other gargoyles, though, which can be a bit of a pain to fight because they can grab you and munch on you, and that can be a problem. Again, as Diaz dies. And Shin doesn't do anything that we haven't already seen. seen, his attack strategy is completely the same. He doesn't pick up a new move at all. In fact, we have more moves that we can use on him instead. Because at this point, Celine has an ability called Lunar Light, which helps really well against a bunch of enemies in the tower because they are weak to moon-based attacks. The main problem here is that, well, Shin is an airborne enemy, so Celine can do her Lunar Light, which will do about 1,000 damage per hit, but Diaz and Bowman are not the best ones in order to actually do any damage against him unless you can get him on the ground, which is hard to do and hard to keep him there. Because, yeah, you can stun him in order to getting down on the ground, and Rena is constantly just trying to use Tractor Beam. God, Diaz. Rena will try to use Tractor Beam a lot, but she won't learn that it won't affect him unless he's on the ground. There we go. Of course, jumping on enemies, if you just remember fighting any of the bunnies in any of the caves, is an annoying thing to do, and it's more annoying when you're dealing against a boss specifically. Yeah, you can get him down on the ground, but keeping him there, you can probably keep him for about maybe 1 to 2 seconds tops, unless you can stun him or peep him. It is possible, there we go, but he's peeped in the air. So I'm glad Diaz looks cool in this moment, but it's not like you're actually going to be doing any damage against the enemy here. So yeah, this fight does work if it was kitted a little bit better. Bowman can do a lot more, maybe with his Firebird attack, in order to actually aim, you know, upward instead of at the ground. Because otherwise it's just going to take a while. And by take a while, I say this version of the boss fight took maybe 9 to 10 minutes in order to actually do, which if there was an actual countdown of the planet exploding in the background, is not good for us in terms of continuing the story.
Crescent wave.
Sorry. Well, let's go.
I will turn you into a
So what does our attack team look like in the exact same instance? Well, first off, Ernest now has his arc attack, which is stupid because it is clearly inspired. He does a Tarzan swing and tries to go about hitting him, but you can kind of see that the momentum of the attack really doesn't make sense and is super slow. And sometimes he will hit, and sometimes he won't, because the enemy will be long gone by the time he's actually finished the animation in order to do it. But, yeah, this is working a whole lot better. Homing missiles, just throwing stuff at him, Claude bouncing all over the place.
Well, that's somewhere around 80 points.
Able to take down Shin in a tenth of the time. So yeah, it's all in the characters that you bring.
My strength!
Leave it up to me. I'm good.
Pleasure.
Goodbye. And that's it for Shin. Again, he's a minor enemy. But in terms of actual, like, antagonists, he's the only one that we honestly have ever had. Come to think of it. I love this time in PlayStation JRPGs where they just have the angel motifs there. Star Ocean decides to go with a little a little bit more creepy in its design. But with our 3 doors, going right gets us to those, including what's known as the Splinter. And going left will give us the Murazame sword, which is a sword specifically for Diaz, so a lot better than what he was actually equipped with. But the Splinter is a whip. And awkwardly, it's not a better whip than the one that Ernest already has. And when it comes to the accessories, now that we have the Gale earring, we're able to talk about them. Because the first one we got was the Meteor ring. Well, the Meteor ring and the Gale earring kind of do the same thing, except one is gender-focused. The speed of a Gale to its wearer and gives an additional attack chance. And there's the Xbox. Sorry, it's a floppy disk. So what that means, an increased attack chance, go down to the Meteor ring, is that every time you hit an enemy, there is a chance, which is nearly guaranteed, of hitting a second time at that point. So every attack counts as 2 attacks. More damage, higher output, pretty good. And I want to make sure my equipment wizard's on. There you go. There we go. All right. I think we're all almost set, except for I want MP. So we can actually get through a little bit more of this dungeon here. Because at this point, after getting this chest here, there's the door to the right. And if you go into that door, you cannot come back. You are locked into whatever is beyond this elevator. Looks like a big sphere. And I guess it's a globe. I love how theater this is, because every single one of our new characters, as Claude gets completely wiped. It also shows that they do not mess around. But I just like that it's spotlight on every single one of them. And Oprah and Ernest know that. Again, it's nice to have them in the party because they do react a little bit differently compared to any other character. In addition, they're also pointed out as well. It's just a shame that they're cut off at the bottom of the screen. Like, they could have moved them just slightly up a little bit more, but no, at least they're kind of there. Prepare, we're getting dumped. And Rena tries to pronounce it, but for the longest time we're really not sure how to pronounce median. Because it's like Nedian? Except I'm pretty sure that Rena would at least understand what a collision is. Try using a different word that means the same thing. Use a synonym. You see, this person is a little bit more important because he has animation. You are truly expected to just absorb all of this at this moment because there is no build up to this. It is, here we go, here's what we have. 15 minutes before complete destruction. And they literally used a meteor, relatively speaking, to hit the planet out of its orbit so that it would do what it needs to do. They took the energy stone in order to help out with their plan. I guess that's what Shin was for. It's wonderful coincidence that an ore that they needed was going to be on this planet. And Rena also has another version of the energy stone. Not necessarily version, but what they were trying to get. I can move a planet in 5 minutes, it's fine. Claude does. We get one name out of all of these faces. Burl. Burley? Well, his actual name is Metatron. One of the main things that Star Ocean Second Story did on its translation was completely change the names of the villains. So, an all-attack team with Shin was a great idea. An all-attack team against Metatron is not a good idea. So, let's bring back the other team and see how this fight is actually supposed to go down without, everybody dying. He puts up a Meta Guard, which honestly is redundant because this is another enemy that we cannot do any damage to whatsoever. He also uses what's called Meta Cancellation, which is an attack. It kind of is something that he uses with his sword swings. Because sometimes he will swing normally, but sometimes he will have after images with him as well. So it's sort of, okay, he's able to hit once or twice. Otherwise, he will just move around in order to hit whoever is closest. So if you have some support members in the back, like Celine or Rena, Celine won't do anything because she will understand that she actually can't. But it's good to have someone who is able to heal. This is a time boss fight. Because for some reason we are praised for how well we did. You do well. No, we don't. With that, they all leave. And we are thrown for quite a loop. The entire planet we were just on is now gone. It's a hard thing to say. And that is it for disc 1. We still have another disc to go. What does this possibly mean, though? With only the calmness left over, the introduction of a bunch of actual villains who have apparently jumped ship to some place called Need, and all of our people assumedly dead. It's completely unknown. Disc 1 is a weird thing to come back to because it really focuses on the small scale stuff. But that's the thing with Star Ocean. It has really always tried to wrangle its huge galaxy spanning story with the small scale stories of individual people. So now, with Disc 2, we really get into that with the introduction of the 10 Wise Men and what they are deciding to do. There's going to be a bit of a break between now and the next video starting Disc 2. So until then, I'll see you next time, everyone. Take care.